9 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We're going to open this morning with the prayer by Deacon Steve O'Brien.
Good morning. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord, as we make decisions that might affect not only us individually, but our community. And continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask also for the blessing of the Holy Spirit as we prepare for tomorrow and the day of election. Just pray that we all make the best and right decision tomorrow. We also ask for the Holy Spirit to come down upon those candidates that are running, Lord. Blessed are you, Lord, God of mercy, who through your Son gave us a marvelous example of charity and a great commandment of love for one another. Send down your blessing on these your servants, Lord, who so generously devote themselves to helping others. When they are called on in times of need, let them faithfully serve you and their neighbor. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to a proclamation for Veterans Day, and I don't believe anybody's here to receive this today. I'll just make sure there's no one here to receive it today. Okay, so I'll read it, and we'll go through it. And keep in mind, after we just had a prayer, that these men and women that serve for us are the reason we have the ability to pray like we do. They're the reason we have the ability to have tomorrow, Tuesday, like we do. And they're the reason that sometimes, even unfortunately, we fight and act like fools. They give us the right to do that too. So thank your veterans. We owe them a lot. Whereas this year marks the 25th annual observance of the Jackson County Veterans Day program held in the Jackson County Veterans Memorial located at Moss Point, Mississippi's riverfront. Whereas the Jackson County Veterans Memorial, established by the late John Welch, a Korean War veteran who served in the U.S. Marine Corps and sponsored the Rotary Club of Moss Point, flies the U.S. flag and flags of all branches of our military year-round to honor our servicemen and women. Whereas in preserving the historical significance of Armistice of 1918, which called for the end of hostilities of World War I, this event is held at the 11th hour of the 11th day on the 11th month. Whereas the annual Jackson County Veterans Day program provides us an opportunity to commemorate all who have served, America's veterans, for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to sacrifice for the common good. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims November 11, 2024 as Veterans Day in Jackson County, Mississippi, and encourages residents to recognize the contributions of veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors by thanking them for their service. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We've got a motion by Mr. Bosar, just a second by Mr. Morris. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, I'd like to add one thing to that proclamation, if I could. So this Saturday, November the 9th, at the Ocean Springs Elks Lodge, there'll be a Veterans Day barbecue and chili cook-off. So I'd like, to invite anybody out on their behalf, Elks Lodge, Beachview Drive, Ocean Springs. Feel free to go by there, and I guarantee you the barbecue and the chili will probably be fantastic. So, but that'll be their salute to Veterans Day also. So thank you.
All right, that brings us to amendments to the agenda. Mr. Cumbest?
I have one for executive session, personnel concerning the sheriff's office.
Mr. Morris?
I don't have any.
Mr. Taylor?
I wanted to ask Jimmy if we're going to look at George County and Jackson County in executive session. I think we should.
Yes, sir. I was going to amend to add the
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't have any. Mr. Bossarge?
Yeah, I'd like to have one under supervisor items for a discussion and possible, support from the board on something there. So it'll be a discussion item.
All right. Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Fulton?
I'd like to pull an item off the consent agenda. Under HR, it's item B. There's been some questions about that, and want to pull that and probably get it back on for next meeting.
Mr. Colmer?
Yes, sir, I have two, under regular session, under county administrator. There was a resolution that was put into civic clerk. I have an amended resolution that's a little bit different that we'll discuss when we get to that point, but I'll be swapping resolutions from what was in civic clerk. And then I have an executive session matter pending litigation, Jackson County versus George County and Singing River Services.
All right. What was your item under, the first one?
It was under the county administrator, under regular session.
Okay. All right. And Mr. O'Neill? All right. Any other amendments to the agenda?
I have one, Mr. President.
Okay.
I'm not surprised at you. Consent agenda under inventory control, resolution to adopt Jackson County fuel driver authorization form. I'd like to have y'all pull that so we can discuss it.
Did you get that?
That's related to, that's the same issue that I was pulling item B for,
Okay.
so. But this is a different item. This is under inventory.
Good.
I have two.
Okay.
Under my items, under B and C, I've added a verification form that needs to go in front of the W-9 in each of those.
Any other amendments to the agenda? All right. Do we have, a motion to accept the amendments as presented?
So moved.
We got a motion by Mr. Morris,
Second.
second by Mr. Cumbest. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that brings us to general public comment. Is anybody here for general public comment?
Good morning. My name's Lee Anderson. I live at 3715 Bergerac Lane, Ocean Springs. I'm also the development director of the Home of Grace. Home of Grace, of course, has been here 60 years. We've helped over 35,000 men and women break free from the chains of drug and alcohol abuse. I'm one of those people. I graduated there 21 years ago. I was on the leading tip of the opioid epidemic that has just had a settlement. 1992, I blew out my knee in a baseball injury and playing college baseball. Over the next 2 years, I was prescribed Oxycontin over 5 knee operations, and it led to a life of despair, drug abuse, and I ended up at the doorstep of the Home of Grace in January of '04, just a broken soul. Home of Grace saved my life. Since then, I've gone on to become a business owner. I sold my business for $40 million. Have created almost 1,000 jobs, sold my business, and now I'm working from my heart for the Home of Grace. The opioid settlement, Jackson County is set to receive close to $2.6 million, if not more. It's directed through 15% of the settlement agreement in Section E. Section E reads like it was written by a pharmaceutical lobbyist. It describes MAT, and MAT is medically assisted treatment. It does carve out a clear path, however, for the Home of Grace to receive funding. I ask for you to look at the Home of Grace's ROI. As a business owner and as supervisors, that should be our number one priority when we're looking at funding. What is our return on that investment? Home of Grace charges $3,600 for a 9-month stay. You can't live anywhere in Jackson County for $3,600 for 90 days, for a 3-month stay. Our funding is, we do get a little bit of funding from Jackson County, which we greatly appreciate every year, is for homeless abatement. It isn't even for drug abuse. But ROI, I would stack it up against any for-profit, nonprofit, government entity of what we do for the residents of Jackson County. Now, we serve a greater population, but in the whole, Jackson County is our most served population. I will tell you right now, 80% of our clients in the program today are addicted to MAT. It is being prescribed in the way that the opioids were prescribed 20 years ago. In fact, I talked to your sheriff this past week at an event, and he's finding MAT being smuggled into your jails. It is a nationwide problem. Like I said, the settlement agreement reads like it was written by the pharmaceutical companies. It's a circle of them receiving back the money they're paying into it. I understand that Jackson County has already received some money and given it to Singing River Health System. And it's a great hospital, but they don't do treatment. They prescribe medication to keep people addicted. Pharmaceuticals have found a new way that they're not going to kill somebody, but they're going to keep them addicted to their new medicines. And it's a shame. Like I say, 80% of the people in the Home of Grace right now are there because of the medicines that are being prescribed to get off of the drugs. It's like me as a cocaine addict being prescribed crack to get off of cocaine. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Excuse me, I'm passionate about this because it about killed me. Closing, I just asked the Board of Supervisors to be on the right side of this issue, to read the settlement agreement. Pay close attention to Section E. I hope you'll come to the same conclusion that me, that it was clearly written by people that with a vested interest in prescribing people medication to keep them enchained. Look at ROI. The Home of Grace's ROI versus any other people that ask you for money in addiction treatment. $3,600 saved my life. It has saved thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of other lives. Where for that small little bit of money can you make a big impact in your residents in Jackson County? So I just ask that you be on the right side of history on this, because I think history is going to judge every one of this in this largest nationwide settlement that our country has ever seen. And to consider the Home of Grace and your funding priorities when you're making the decisions on this. My opinion, that we should be the sole recipient of Jackson County funds because we do the most good here in Jackson County. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Homes of Grace has been a remarkable partner for Jackson County over the years. And I had the opportunity to actually speak and attend a couple of their graduations, and I will say that the pride that I felt for the men and women that were graduating that day that I'd never met before and didn't know was amazing, just because I could hear the heart and the care and the way they talked and then their singing. And they did it. I actually got one of the CDs that year, and that CD might not be the most, Hollywood branded or Nashville branded with all the fancy instruments and all the things to make the acoustics better, but there was so much heart in it. I'd rather listen to that CD than a lot of the ones that are professionally developed. So, yeah, so it was amazing. But yeah, we will certainly keep Homes of Grace in mind, and we will look at avenues that we can help Homes of Grace. And I say that, I think the board supports that idea too. I'm pretty sure they do. But thank you for speaking.
If I could just speak to one piece of that, though, the Home of Grace, like Troy says, amazing, awesome, does a great thing for the community. But the board won't be pocketing it, whether they send additional money to Home of Grace or use it other place, they won't be pocketing any opioid money because Jackson County owns the Stevens Center and Singing River Services, which is a conduit of Jackson County. I mean, the Stevens Center, there is just not enough funding to run that building. There's very limited funding for alcohol and drug and mental health services. So I think just in the past year, the board's committed like $3 million into creating a new CSU, several hundred thousands to Singing River Services, and committed to putting more. So it'll be board discretion what they want to do with the opioid money, but I want you to know they'll be on the right side, because that money is going to treat the people that need that type of stuff.
medications.
Sir?
Singing River prescribes medications.
Not Singing River Hospital, Singing River Services.
Okay.
All right, any other public comment?
Hi, Pam Weezer, 14916 Dismuke Avenue, Biloxi, Mississippi. I'm here to speak out against the Back Bay RV park expansion. We live on Dismuke. Our house faces this expansion. When we bought our house down here in 2020, we did not know that that was going in. And now they want to expand it and add cabins and a road off of Dismuke and a restaurant. We don't care about the restaurant, we don't. You know, the RV park's there, we know it's not gonna change, but we don't want the cabins to go in, and we don't want a road off Dismuke. If you've ever driven Dismuke, it is super narrow road. We've lived there 4 years. We're on our 3rd mailbox. You know, it's like every year we're replacing our mailbox because something hits it. And we've seen so much increased activities of golf carts with underage drivers. I mean, I work from home, my office faces Dismuke. I see the golf carts going up and down our street every day, all day long. And a lot of times underage drivers. Sure, there's a parent with them, but the actual driver of the golf cart is no way have a license. I mean, they're like 12. You know, I mean, it's just unbelievable what we see. There's so much noise. Like, we can't sit outside at night and have friends in our backyard, because if they're having an event at the RV park, we can't communicate. It's that loud. We're seeing an increase in animal activity in our yard. I mean, we had a family of raccoons just the other day in our backyard that we'd never seen the first year we were here. I mean, and there's supposed to be a barrier between the road so that we can't see this RV park. It's just trees laying on the ground. It's a mess. And there's no buffer. You know, it smells. The garbage is right there. Their roll-off box or their garbage box is right there by the road. You can't sit outside at night. When they burn, I have asthma. I can't be outside if they're burning. And they burn their trees a lot and other things that are just not healthy. You know, my husband's a fireman. He says that there's more being burnt than just trees. You know, he's a retired fireman. There's certain smells that are not just a burnt wood smell or a fireplace smell. I mean, like I said, we're okay if they put a restaurant in. We don't care. We just don't want a road off of Dismuke or the cabins. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I just got one little one. We moved to this area because we just love it. We love the community, we love the quietness of the neighborhood, and that's why we moved there. And it's in our retirement years now, and we want to stay there for the rest of our lives, and we want a quiet residential neighborhood that we can enjoy. And I know with the 50 cabins going in right across the road from us, the traffic will be ridiculous, and it's going to take away from what we wanted in our, retirement years. I want to reiterate, we love it here. We love it, and we don't want to move. And we hope that you'll see through that our residential neighborhood will still stay residential instead of commercial, where I'm not against expansion, but I believe it should be done in the right locations under the right type of neighborhoods. In a residential neighborhood, nobody would want this going in across the road from where they live. In such a narrow road where you can't even hardly meet a boat on the road without, having somebody get off in your grass. So
That's my thoughts on it, and I hope you'll keep our residential neighborhood residential. Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. But, and Marcus, would you, after the meeting, would you get with me so we can talk about buffers in that area and see if there's anything that needs to be tightened up for that buffer and the trash?
I think what they're talking about there was the Back Bay RV Park, but that was denied. So what they're saying that they didn't want was denied.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they still said that there was a buffer. I'd like to learn about the buffer issue, if there is one, and the garbage, if there's something to be done to help with those two things. That brings us to consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented and amended?
So moved. So moved. Yep.
Second by Mr. Morris.
And Troy, just so we're clear, the two items that were pulled were Human Resources, item B, and the Inventory Control, item A.
We've got a motion by Mr. Taylor, a second by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that brings us to the court attorney.
Troy, let the record show I recuse myself.
Right, we need to,
All right.
Mr. Cummins needs to recuse himself on 8A under board attorney. Thank you, Ms. Ross. I put this under regular agenda just so Mr. Cumbus could recuse himself. It's just a resolution to retain Halsey Cumbus to perform a title search and act as a closing attorney for 3108 Caney Street, Pascagoula.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bossarge, second by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion.
And just for the record, Mr. Cummins does not have a conflict on that, but there is an appearance of a conflict, and that's why I asked him to recuse himself. He does not have a legal conflict.
All right. County Administrator?
The next thing is the resolution. I believe this is the one that was amended today, but resolution that gives us the ability to explore the sale of 3 properties on Big Ridge Road. And I pulled up the map here just to kind of show you what we're talking about. This is Big Ridge Road here on the west side of the county. And in this residential area, there's a few pieces of property, this being one of those properties here, and then 2 properties here that front Big Ridge Road. But basically, these 3 properties are vacant property in a residential zoned area. It appears those properties were taken under an eminent domain case in the late 80s, maybe early 90s, and I don't really know the reason why. And so we'd like to get these properties back on the tax rolls. It could be future residential development in there that fits in with what's around it. I did make a trip out there and looked. It's a big piece of property with some beautiful trees on it. It's on top of a hill, so I don't see any drainage concerns with that. But we'd like to get permission to do some title work, maybe do a survey depending on what we find during the title work, and have an appraisal done on the properties so that we can start looking at trying to get those back on the tax rolls. And so that's what the resolution is.
And just for the board, what I had originally crafted, because things were kind of in a rush, that resolution really didn't say much of anything. After speaking with Brian, I changed the resolution. It's a resolution of the board regarding the potential sale of 3 properties on Big Ridge Road. And as Brian mentioned, it gives him and my office the power to do those things necessary under the applicable statute. including the retention of counsel for a title opinion, retention of a potential surveyor and/or potential real estate broker, along with other things to help us determine and come back to the board whether or not y'all believe it is appropriate for the county to dispose of those properties. Just gives us the tools to determine what we need to present it to the board for the board's determination on whether you want or not you want to sell them.
I know this is Troy's area, but put something in the beginning, if we decide to bid this, take bids on it, that the zoning will not be changed. So for whoever buys it, since it's a big parcel, somebody might want to change the zoning, it needs to stay. I would agree with, if Troy agrees to keep it, make sure it stays R1, and whoever buys it knows that it can't be rezoned. What you think?
I mean, it's in the middle of a neighborhood, so I would think R1. I don't think there'd be much way, I mean, I don't think I'd want to rezone that in that area.
It won't stop
Yeah.
somebody from
Yeah,
trying.
yeah, they'll
If we don't
try,
put it
but
in
if we put it in there,
we don't put it in the documentation up front, it's not gonna stop anybody from trying.
We have to include that in this motion today, but when we get ready to dispose of it, if we decide to, there may be a time to put something like that in.
so I'll make a motion to go ahead and start exploring that sale, start that
second.
process. Mr. Cumbus, second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
It's rude and early.
All right. Finance.
I didn't think it was, I wasn't sure.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Good morning. The first item I have is the order approving the claims docket.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Cumbus, second by Mr. Bossarge. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Second item, the resolution authorizing the interfund loans for fiscal year September 30th, 2025.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Taylor,
That's second.
second by Mr. Morris. Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and the last item is the resolution authorizing the operating transfers for fiscal year September 30th, 2025.
Motion by Mr. Morris,
Second.
second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion
Thank you.
carries. All right. Human Resources.
Good morning, gentlemen, I'm going to stay up here so the first item was, I think, was supposed to be in the consent agenda. I don't know if there's a reason it was changed, but it's basically something that you've already approved before with one change. It's been updated. We've looked at it, Jim, you've looked at it with us. I think we're all good to go unless you have some questions for me. There's not much to discuss unless you have something.
Right, I've looked at it. I think from a legal standpoint, it's fine. It adds a couple of additional costs that were not originally in the documentation that the board approved. I think one item was for paying for run-out claims, or run-in claims, run-out claims,
Yes.
however you say it. And then the other was a brokerage fee, I think, for Cadence for the
Stopgap coverage.
for some
Yeah.
coverage. So I think that's why it was pulled and put on the regular agenda so the board could understand what they're voting on, because a couple additional costs.
So the cost is really just being moved. The $6.15 brokerage cost is really just being moved from the cost of our reinsurance, taken out of that and put into this cost of sold rates. But it works out the same. It's not necessarily an additional cost.
It's kind of a substitute cost. It basically takes the place of the brokerage fee for the reinsurance that we have, the stopgap insurance. So it's really just moving it from one place to another. It's not any additional money. The second one is the run-in claims, and so when our current contract expires, the claims that are still in process, the new company, Health Grand, will have to process those claims. So there is a fee for that, and so that's the two changes.
Yeah, they're both legal and legitimate. They were just, want to make sure the board understood, right?
We don't need a motion on it.
Yeah, we'll need I think we have a resolution in city clerk to approve that.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Convest. I'll second. Second by Mr. Taylor. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right.
Okay, and the second item was really put here as a placeholder, unless, we had some issues with our dental and vision, making sure that our IT folks had a contact to speak with, and if we were able to get it all uploaded by past Friday. It was, November 1st was our, effective date. That is all taken care of. We have been assigned someone, so unless you have something we need to discuss, I think we're good to go and don't need to vote on this or discussion.
Yeah, I checked with IT this morning, and they're currently satisfied. We're having some problems. Apparently, our new vendor oversees IT, and it was getting very difficult to discuss things with them because, their time and our time don't match up. It'd be a couple of weeks before we heard back, but I think we got the right people talking now, and so I think we're good as of today.
So when is it actually switched? Is it switched officially now?
Switch over Friday was effective. We have new dental vision effective November 1st, which was Friday.
So will that run November to November, or?
No, it's going to, it'll start lining up, I think it'll run through next December 31st.
Okay, and then it starts January.
We're trying to line up to match in January 1st.
All right. All right, inventory.
Good morning. I have a resolution authorizing intergovernmental sale of a 2009 Crown Vic to New Augusta Police Department.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Mr. Morris,
Second.
second by Mr. Cumbest. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. All right, planning.
Good morning. The item I have are Planning Commission recommendations for October. We did have one zone change in the meeting this month.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cumbest, second by Mr. Bossarge. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank y'all.
Road management.
Good morning. As you all know, we received a petition for an abandonment of a portion of Mathala Road several months ago. We discussed this several times. Our internal policies have always been that all property owners on the affected portion of road would sign the petition. On this particular abandonment, we have one property owner that has signed and one property owner who has not signed. And that's kind of where we've been for a while now.
Correct, yeah. Yeah.
So-
If the board, this will take just a few minutes. If the board will recall, this came up several months ago. And the board requested that I obtain a survey so we could see exactly what is what and what is where. And we do have that survey in front of you. You'll notice that the property in yellow is the property that's owned by the neighbor that has not consented to the abandonment of the road. I don't know if he's opposed to it or just hasn't been contacted or what, but there is no consent from the neighbor in yellow. I was interested with a survey as to where his property lines were, and the neighbor's property lines actually run along the edge of the asphalt road. So his property does touch the road. The entirety of the road is on the property owned by the Browns, which is to the left. The Browns have filed the petition to abandon the road. To be clear, the board can't vote today to abandon the road. We have not published. I'm bringing this back up for the board to do one of two things: either deny the petition, which you can do today, or instruct me to publish, and we'll have a hearing on whether you may want to abandon this road. This has gone on for quite some time, and let me provide you with a little history. And are the Browns here?
Yeah.
Okay. This is, we've got quite a file on this, and this is my take on it. Back in 1973, we can go back that far at least, maybe farther, but 1973, when this road has been considered a public road. There was a warranty deed, and there was a handwritten diagram filed in 73 that has written on it that Marthaler Road is a public road. In 1985, there was an order accepting roads located in District 1 as public roads and for public maintenance. That was in 1985, and that included Marthaler Road. In 1990, there was a survey that was attached to a quitclaim deed that described Marthaler Road as a public road. In 2000, this road was added to the road registry as a public road. In 2016, the road department paved Marthaler Road. And so the dispute seems to be, as best I can tell, is who has the obligation to determine whether or not this is a public road. Counsel for the Browns seems to say that we have the obligation to file suit, I suppose, and determine whether or not the road is a public road or not. I tend to disagree. There's a 2007 Mississippi Supreme Court case, or Court of Appeals case, that I think is on point, that says it doesn't matter how a road becomes public. That is immaterial. There's three ways for roads to become public. But this case went on to talk about an implied dedication based on how long something has been used and recognized as a public road. So I know the policy of this board is that you always get the adjoining property owner's consent before you abandon a road. You don't have to. You can publish, and this board can, if this road fits or you make certain findings that fit this statute, you can abandon the road if you so choose. And if there's any indication that you may want to do that, we can publish and bring it back for an up or down vote. Or, like I said, you can determine today that you do not want to abandon the road. So that's basically where we are. Like I said, and one more thing that I forgot to mention. I did say that in 2000 the road was listed on the road registry as a public road. The Browns acquired the property in 2004, 4 years later, after it was by quitclaim deed, after it was put on the road registry. And then, 12 years later, the road was paved. So this road runs on their property, immediately adjacent and touching the neighbor's property, and then it looks like at least the county maintenance stops on the Browns' property. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes, that's correct.
So that's the situation. I did mention to the Browns Council that I would put this on the agenda for discussion, because several months ago, when y'all instructed me to obtain a survey, we did, and so we're coming back with that issue. Did I recite that correctly, Joe?
I think so. I think you've covered it.
A question on it. If you, I mean, are you talking about just abandoning a portion of the road?
Yes, they had requested the northern portion of it to be abandoned.
So that basically north of the dotted line on the paper?
I don't have that in front of me, Troy.
It looks like the Browns would not have access to their property if certain portions of the road were abandoned. I mean, it cuts right through the adjacent property completely. And so if you vacate that portion of the road, the Browns would basically have property with no access.
That's correct. I believe.
I don't see how that can work.
It's not gonna be good.
Wrong. I mean, survey was wrong.
And we have a deed showing that we own the property where the road comes in and where the road ends. We have a deed to the property. And we pay taxes on it for 20 years, minded our own business. Nothing's been said until last year when a realtor that went to the GIS and got everything started up. The GIS changed the lines, and all of a sudden Jackson County's claiming our land, plus a 40-foot right-of-way through there that changes our land from 1.38 acres to 1.25 acres. It's on our deed.
And
This survey was just done, wasn't
the
it?
survey was just done. GIS is irrelevant for this discussion. GIS is a tool that is used by the county, but for the actual ownership of property, it's what's in the land record. So GIS is irrelevant. Sometimes we do find the GIS, the lines are off a little bit, and we'll work with them to internally get that changed so that it'll reflect correct lines, but that is not a legal system to determine property lines. And if this survey, Mr. Brown, if y'all have nobody's provided me with another survey.
We got one coming up.
Well, okay.
Should be next few days.
My question would, yeah, go ahead.
If the survey they have is different, it's gonna be up to a judge to decide which one's right, isn't it, Jimmy?
Well, I think, Mr. Cummings, I don't, the purpose of me getting a survey and the board instructing me to get a survey is to try to determine, did the neighbor's land actually touch the road? Did it stop before the road? In other words, was the road in the middle of the Browns' property such that the neighbor's property did not touch the road and did not touch the easement? And it was what I thought it was, but I wasn't sure that the property goes all the way, the neighbor's property goes all the way to the edge of the road. In other words, if this road went dead in the middle of the Browns' property, I think there would be an argument that you don't maybe need the neighbor's consent because this roadway does not touch or affect the neighbor in any way, shape, or form. So that was the purpose of the survey.
Yeah.
And again, the legislature gives the Board of Supervisors pretty broad authority on whether or not you want to abandon a road or not. You just have to make sure that we follow the statute, again, one of which is publication. But Mr. Cummings, y'all have broad authority on whether or not you would want to abandon this road.
I mean, how would private property be owned across a public road anyway?
Look, in Jackson County, you've got this same situation on roads all over the county, where the roads, wherever they were at when they were developed, they might be on split property, they might be on one person's property. This is not unusual. This is not anything outside of normal for the county. Most of your rural county roads are going to split properties, they're going to run down properties, and the property corners may be in the middle of the road, but it's not owned by that individual. This is no different than another 1,000 properties or 10,000 properties the same way.
Abandon the
No,
right-of-way, the way this survey's drawn. If this survey's correct, you'd get yourself in trouble by abandoning
Yeah,
the
oh, I
right-of-way,
know
because
that.
the Browns wouldn't have access to their
And
property.
you won't have a deed unless the county's purchased it or unless it's been deeded.
Well, the road's been there for over 20 years, right?
That's right.
So there's a
Been there
prescriptive
long- well,
easement through
that-
there, whether, no matter who owns it.
It's been there longer than that, and we readopted the road registry in 2000, that's 24 years, and then we went back to the 85 road map, it was on the 85 road map, that's another 15 years, and then.
We've gone back as far as 1973. Now, let me say this, even if we had published, or even if we do publish, you still can't abandon that road if that road provides primary access to the neighbors.
Yes. It does not provide primary
But,
access.
but my point is, we don't know, I don't know that. I can't tell you one way or another whether it does or whether it doesn't, because the neighbors aren't here.
I gave you a picture showing his primary access. It is before North Taylor Road enters our property and then ends on our property.
I think the board would have to make that determination based on more facts or based on the neighbor saying, I object, this is primary access for me. I can continue to research this as far as you want to go. I just don't, I need direction from the board. Do you want me to continue to look into this? Do you have questions?
No, from what I see here.
And one thing that, I know we have a policy that we typically don't abandon roads if you don't have the neighbors' consent. So that's where we are today.
That's right. Hey, Joe, let me ask you.
And I know what I'm gonna do today.
In 1973, could this have possibly been a meet and bound survey?
I don't know, I didn't see the deed that they, or the easement from
You know,
73, Jimmy had
when
that.
the meets and bounds surveys got moved over to the GPS stuff, it kind of knocked some things out of order. You know,
In my opinion, when we adopted the road registry in 2000, we went through the process, we had public hearings, we posted it in the newspapers and adopted it. It was county then, and it's irrelevant to the property lines at that point,
Okay.
It may be helpful to, wait and take a look at the other survey that they made, that they're having done, and compare the two and kind of see what it looks like. And it may be possible that you could abandon a portion of the road, at some point. But the way this is drawn right now.
No, I can't do it.
Well, the neighbors have a driveway going into a garage on that portion of the road too. They have access on the front, like the Browns are saying, but they also have a carport and a driveway accessing off of that road.
At the back of it, yeah.
That access was poured in 2006, and we had a lawyer, Michael Watson, that checked everything out and told them that, that was not right. That
What I've got to go by though is what I'm looking at here this morning, and that's what I'm going to go by. But anyway, and I'm gonna make a motion that we do not abandon it at this point.
If you want a second, then I was going to say something.
Yeah.
Also,
Go ahead.
We did invite the Browns to come speak to the board. We have not been speaking directly to the Browns, we've been speaking to their attorney. And if y'all have something to add to what we've said, I would like to know it, because I'm trying to help the board figure out.
Why don't we just wait till I get that first survey?
That'd be fine.
To the next survey, or?
No, let's go ahead.
who did this survey?
They can always.
I've got it's cut off at the bottom. I expanded it just so you could see it.
All right, so we've got a motion by Mr. Cumbus, a second by Mr. Bossarge. Any more discussion?
What is the motion?
Go further.
To do what? Not to abandon it.
Abandon it.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So,
Take one and pass it down.
take one and pass it down.
Here you go, Randy.
Action items.
Quickly, the state issues, we met with a lot of the House members late or early last week and kind of reiterated some of our priorities for this coming session. So I wanted to mention that. But on the federal side, had a meeting last week with Representative Ezel and his staff in Hattiesburg, and we talked about 3 important issues that maybe they can help us with during the next Congress session. And I left you a handout, or passed around a handout regarding that. The 3 issues were transparency issues as it relates to our new flood risk rating 2.0, just trying to better understand what the factors are that affect the rate, and to make sure that, with the money that we spend on drainage and dredging and other mitigating type projects, that we're spending money on the things that can actually have an effect on the rating. We don't want to go spend millions of dollars on projects, and that's not really even a factor in how the flood insurance is evaluated. So that was one thing, transparency. Secondly, was this substantial improvement rule, and these were properties that may be slightly below BFE after the new maps were done. You're reduced to only improve those properties by 50% of the value of the property. And in certain cases, like in Pascagoula, you may have some buildings downtown or some other residences that have not been inhabited since Katrina, or maybe they have and they're just kind of gone down in value. And so there's a reduced value of the property, and then the substantial improvement rule will only allow you to spend 50% of the value of that property to upgrade the property. And in some cases, that wouldn't even put a new roof on. And so we're asking for Congress to give us some more flexibility on that rule to be able to invest up to 100% of the value of that property to make improvements. And then thirdly is the coastal remapping, and those are the new flood maps. It's our understanding that those have been turned into FEMA and that they're under review, and we'd like to get some pressure to help get those reapproved. They do make some pretty good changes, particularly on the east side of the county. There's some areas in Pascagoula that could come completely out of the flood zone, which makes them a whole lot easier to develop and would give Pascagoula some relief, as well as other areas in the county. But those are the 3 topics that we talked with Ezel staff. I think it was a very good meeting, and they're committed to helping us with those during this next session of Congress. That's it.
All right, supervisor items. Mr. Compass?
I did. Mine's under executive session.
All right, Mr. Morris?
Did they have anything?
Mr. Taylor?
No.
All right, I don't have any. Mr. Bossarge?
Yes, hey, Joe, will you come up? Hey, first of all, would you give us an update on Beachview Bridge?
On the Beachview, we started construction on shoring up the bridge last week. We got Friday, we set the first set of spans, new spans, and they're driving again today. So I think we're on schedule for hitting the December 20th, barring what happens this weekend.
Yeah.
So I think we're pretty good there. We're moving ahead on that one.
So my issue today is, so we have 2 subdivisions in Latimer off of McClellan Road, not McGregor, but McClellan Road. That I talked to, Joe and I and Marcus talked to the developer and the contractor who built all the houses in there. This subdivision's been complete for over 2 years.
It should be, Marcus, should be close.
Yeah, almost 2 years. This subdivision's been complete. And both subdivisions, Cypress Winds and Bell Creek, which are large developments with probably a couple of hundred homes between them. And those are the ones that are R1 that have sidewalks, curb and gutter, and all that was put in by the developer and the builder. And so I met with the developer and the builder of those 2 subdivisions along with Joe and Marcus last month, and because there's a lot of issues that the homeowners associations both are complaining about, and other homeowners in that area that are complaining about, and what's happened is none of their concerns are being addressed. There's sidewalks that are popping up in the air, there's curbs that are cracked, there's drainage that's going underneath the roads. You know, so we talked to those two developers and the builder, and they assured us, you know, I told them, look guys, 30 days, you should have all this done, and it's been over 30 days. The only thing they've done is did a little paving in one of the cul-de-sacs that they needed to do. But this punch list has been going on for a couple of years now, and so I did tell them that if they wasn't substantially complete within 30 days, that I was going to ask the board to, the one developer has like multiple other projects going on in the county, and so I was going to ask the board to stop construction, issue a stop construction order on their developments until they get this development fixed and get it signed off by our engineer and the road department, get it signed off, and then they're, you know, that's the only way I can get their attention is be able to stop work on some other, because they haven't done anything substantial other than a little bit of paving. They show up, they do a little work. We've had no rain in 30 days, so rain is not an issue. It's not an excuse. I'm not going to take that as an excuse. So Joe and I have been going through there every week and looking for progress, and there just hadn't been any progress made. So my ask of the board today, I talked to Jimmy about it last week, and my ask of the board today is to issue a stop work order. Greater Gulf Development, I think, has 3 developments going on, Marcus. Is that true?
They have Palm Point at the end of Hamel Farm, and
Yeah.
Serene,
Yeah.
which is in St. Martin. That's the 2
Okay.
other developments that they have going right now in Jackson County.
So my ask of the board today is we issue a stop work order on their projects until they get this project fixed, signed off on, and then when they get that done, then we can release the stop work orders. But that's my, D.R. Horton is not involved yet because the developer hadn't completed what they were supposed to complete. So I would go after D.R. Horton too, but D.R. Horton wouldn't be this wouldn't be fair to them because they can't do anything until the developer gets through with what he's got to do.
Yeah,
What they did is Greater Gulf developed the lots and then turned around and sold them to D.R. Horton. So any warranty work that D.R. Horton has to do is based off of Greater Gulf getting their work done, and then Horton's already committed to fixing the sidewalks.
That's correct. D.R. Horton's going to fix the sidewalks, but they have to fix the curbs first.
Right. Greater Gulf has to fix the curbs first.
D.R. Horton's ready to go.
Yeah. So my ask today is just, and then if they get this work done and then D.R. Horton doesn't get their work done, then I'll be asking to stop D.R. Horton's work also. But for now, I'm just asking for board support to issue a stop work order today for Greater Gulf Development to cease all work until they get this work finished, completed. So that's my motion.
Mr. Bosarge did call me and mention this to me, and we did some quick research on it. Let me ask first, is the developer in violation of any rules, regulations, codes, anything with regard to that particular development or any of their other developments? I think before we can issue a stop work order, we have to find them in violation of something.
Wouldn't they be in violation of the punch list? They hadn't completed the punch list on that subdivision yet, the one in question.
We're getting down to the end of their maintenance period.
Yeah.
What brought all this up?
What would they be in violation of?
They hadn't corrected the deficiencies we've identified with Marcus's office on the curbs, the roads. They have done some work. They did the asphalting, that was easy, but the curb work's still not done, and the sidewalks is not complete. And then the water and sewer, where they stubbed them up and they're sitting in the middle of the sidewalks, has got to be done. I don't know which bunch is going to do that.
I understand the problem, and I don't have any problem with being aggressive to get people to do what they're supposed to do. Otherwise, the county ends up with a bunch of shoddy work. And if we can articulate any ordinances, rules, regulations, anything they're in violation of, you probably shut them down. That's an aggressive maneuver. We're probably gonna hear from them after lunch.
That's good.
But
Maybe it'll get their attention.
Right.
You know, these punch lists keep dragging on and dragging on. When a subdivision's complete and the houses are built out in it, they just keep dragging on, and we just gotta put our foot down for a change. And this is the only way I know as a contractor, you'd get my attention if you shut my other jobs down. You would get my attention to go fix that other job.
And it is a challenge. It is a challenge
It
on
is a
all of
challenge.
them. I mean, when we start making up a punch list, some of them do better than others. This one has not been
But
that
with
good.
Joe and Marcus standing there, they agreed to 30 days. They said, yes, sir, we'll get it done in 30 days. And it's been over 30 days now.
We
So-
do have a maintenance bond
Yeah.
for this project, but the bond would not cover the work that needs to be done. And we checked on cashing that bond, and that's a huge process, and,
Oh, believe me, they don't
Never had
want
to
us, they don't want us to do that.
So basically, they developed the project, sold lots, got the money out of it, and now I'm kind of just exaggerating a little bit, but moved on to something else and left these problems sitting there.
that's right. During the process of construction, you're gonna have items here and there that need to be fixed. And they have an agreement to come back and fix those items. And our engineers will go through and they'll make a punch list. And they're supposed to come in and fix those items. Well, they haven't done that on this one.
What type of time frame do we give them to fix the?
Never has it been 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, the actual problems have been going on that long?
We have a warranty period, you know, and they're supposed to correct it within that warranty period. After that warranty period, the county has to assume maintenance on it.
Right.
And we met with them several months ago the first time, and,
We've never signed off on this one for the county to take.
And we've had others that took this long, but they eventually got it done as we kept. But it's just come to a point now to where, you know, the word's got to get out. Hey, look, the Board of Supervisors is not going to put up with this anymore. They'll shut you down somewhere else if you don't get this taken care of in a reasonable amount of time. I think 2 years has been more than reasonable.
Let me ask this question. If they had no other projects in the county, and this was the only one, and they say 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and they just never did anything, I guess we would have to sue them under some type of
Right.
of a warranty argument.
Right. Either we have to
their
cash their
bond.
bonds, and the county do the work, or we have the county have to do the work, and we have to try to recoup the money.
And the bond guarantees what?
Well, the bond is supposed to ensure that they do the work.
Okay.
But the amount of work that's needed on this one, the bond would not be enough to cover it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. And that bond is good until the county accepts the project, I assume?
Yes, that's correct.
And the other projects that they've got going on, I ride by them every day. And they've got multiple people out there working on them. And it's like, let's don't worry about this one over here. They ain't gonna do anything. Let's keep working on these two projects we got going. And I'm just
It
ready
seems like-
to
seems
put my
like
foot down. Yep.
when they get 2 or 3 guys out there, they go do a little work. Like I said, they did the final paving, went in, repaired some paving, and they took out a few sections of the curb and poured them back, but there's still a lot out in these two subdivisions.
So, recommendations, wouldn't we want to put the bond, the bonding company on notice?
Well, we've checked on doing that. We've never had to cash a bond, ever, that I'm aware of. And we checked on doing that. That's a huge process to do that.
We did on Automobile, I think, didn't we? On that
Well,
project.
yeah, we filed with a bonding company on a construction project.
Yeah,
I don't think
It
we've
wasn't
ever
a
done it on
neighborhood
subdivision.
development, yeah.
But it's probably similar to the same process, I would imagine.
That was a process. I remember Gary going through that, and that was a job. Ultimately worked out, but,
It makes it take a
I'm
lot
just saying as an
longer.
alternative, not as an alternative, in conjunction with, if the board wants to put a stop work order on, write a letter to the bonding company and say, we're gonna pursue the bond.
I just need to get their attention so they'll go do the work. It won't take them long to do the work. They just need to go do it instead of dragging.
How much money to fix all the issues?
Oh,
I don't know, we'd have to
We
run
ain't
the
looked at that.
numbers.
I mean, you're talking about 10,000, 100,000?
Oh, you better than 10,000, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
We have a $20,000 bond, and
And that won't be enough.
Gotcha, okay.
You're probably looking at 50 easy. Yeah.
What would happen if we do this and then they say, sorry, Mr. County, you have no authority to tell me that. I'm not gonna stop work.
Oh, no, we
What
have the
happens?
authority to do that.
Do we have the authority?
Under our ordinances.
Right,
we-
I think-
Our development ordinances.
I think we
have-
get the sheriff involved and we would shut them down.
Yeah.
I mean,
If nothing, look,
what's the
if
problem?
nothing else, we're gonna hear from their lawyer, hear from them. I mean, I understand the problem, but how long does the problem go?
Here's the issue. We've got a lot of developments going on and we've got more coming. So if we don't put our foot down now, these guys are gonna keep dragging and dragging, and it's just not fair to the people that are coming in and buying those homes to have to put up with this for this long. It's just not, it's not fair.
normally they're full before the maintenance period's
Yeah,
ever.
and they're usually
ever up.
built out before the maintenance period's even completed. So yeah, so it's just, gotta get it out there that we're gonna start doing this if they don't do what they're supposed to do. When they build the last house in there, everything should be completed and then they should move on. And should be signed over to the county, you know. So.
There's a lot of contractors that we have a good relationship with. This contractor, we've had issues with in the past.
It's time to send a message.
Okay.
I make that motion.
All right, you make the motion, I second it.
Motion by Mr. Bossarge, second by Mr. Cumbest. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank y'all.
Okay. I'll let them know today.
Yeah, let them know, Marcus, immediately.
Joe, since you're here, Joe, on Bay Avenue Bridge, how is that coming along?
Y'all just approved easement on one. I think we might have one more, and then we'll be getting down to moving utilities.
Right, I had a lady ask me about that Saturday.
Yes, we still have to move some utilities once we acquire the other easement.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Just a quick question, we've been sitting here, the detention pond project, is that the 219 project we've talked about for a long time?
Matthew's here.
Yes. In Cedar Grove?
Yes.
Okay, I just that's what I thought, I just wanted to,
And there's another road department project that's on the west side of Cedar Grove subdivision. So there's two different projects. There's that one, and then the 219 one is the detention pond that's on the east side of the neighborhood.
okay, all right, thank you. All right, I think that wraps up everything. It brings us to closed session to see if there's sufficient evidence for an executive session.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Cumbest.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morris.
Yeah, Mr. Ross, we have 3 items for a potential executive session. One is under Human Resources. It's a personnel issue with regard to the Office of Emergency Services. One is personnel with regard to the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. And one is pending litigation, Jackson County versus George County and Singing River mental health.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.